Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Listen to me, man. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your situation is right now. I don't care if you broke, unemployed, or feel like nothing ever works out for you. Your mind is the most powerful thing you got. And let me tell you something. What you think about all the time, what you focus on, what you allow to live rent-free in your head, that's exactly what you're gonna become. Your life is nothing more than a reflection of your thoughts. Now I know somebody listening saying, Steve, come on, man, I'm just thinking, it ain't that serious. No, it is that serious. Because the moment you allow negativity to live in your head, you're already lost. If you keep saying to yourself, I ain't good enough, I ain't smart enough, I ain't lucky enough, then guess what? Life gonna prove you right. See, your mind don't argue with you. Your mind just takes orders. If you tell it you broke, it starts working overtime to make sure you stay broke. If you tell it you're successful, it starts pulling people, ideas, opportunities into your life to get you there. I'll give you an example. Back when I was living in my car, homeless, I didn't have no money, no job, no stability. But you know what I had? I had my imagination and my thoughts. I used to sit in that car and say to myself, oh, one day I'm going to be on stage. One day I'm going to be on TV. One day I'm going to live in a big house. Now, if you looked at me back then, you would have thought I was crazy. I didn't even know how I was going to eat the next day, but I kept feeding my mind those images. And you know what? I started moving different. I started chasing opportunities, saying yes to gigs, driving across town for $50 comedy spots. My body just followed where my mind was already living. See, a lot of people got it backwards. They say when I get money, I'll start thinking successful. No. You gotta think successful before the money shows up. You gotta carry yourself like a winner before you win. It's like planting seeds. You don't wait for fruit to show up and then plant a tree. No, you plant first, water it, protect it, and eventually the harvest comes. That's how your thoughts work. The problem is most folks plant the wrong seeds. They plant fear, they plant doubt, they plant excuses. And then when their life grows full of disappointment, they wonder why. Man, you can't plant tomatoes and expect apples. You can't plant negative thinking and expect positive results. Let me tell you something else. You ever notice how people who always complain seem to always have something to complain about? Coincidence. That's their mind pulling more of what they focus on. If all you talk about is struggle, all you see is struggle. If all you think about is winning, you start spotting chances to win. Your eyes open up to blessings that were there the whole time, but your old thinking blinded you. Here's the truth. Life is hard for everybody. Everybody gets knocked down. Everybody got bills, got stress, got problems. But the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is what they let play on repeat in their head. Winners rehearse victory in their mind long before it happens. Losers rehearse defeat so many times. Life don't even gotta knock them out. They already quit in their imagination. I remember one time, early in my career, I bombed on stage so bad I wanted to quit comedy. I was embarrassed, man. I said to myself, maybe I ain't cut out for this. And the more I thought that, the heavier it felt. Then I had to catch myself and flip the script. I said, hold up. That was one night. That ain't who I am. I ain't who I am. I'm a funny dude. I'm made for this. I started repeating that in my head even when it didn't feel true. And eventually, my performance caught up to my mindset. That's how powerful this thing is. Some of y'all are praying for a breakthrough, but God waiting on you to change your thoughts. You want a new life, but you still thinking the old way. You saying you want love, but you keep telling yourself, ain't nobody gonna want me. You saying you want success, but you keep saying, oh man, I don't think I can do it. And your mind is saying, okay, boss, I'll keep you right where you are. If you don't take anything else from me today, take this. Start controlling the conversation in your head. Stop letting negativity rent space in your mind for free. Evict it. Replace it with faith, with belief, with vision. Speak it, think it, see it, until your life has no choice but to catch up with what your mind been rehearsing. Because at the end of the day, your future ain't out there waiting to be found. It's being built right here, right now in your thought. You can't build a mansion in your mind and end up in a shack in real life. And you can't build a shack in your thoughts and expect a mansion outside. Whatever you think about most, you become. And that, my friend, is the absolute truth. Let me tell y'all something, man. Most people don't fail because they don't have the talent. or the smarts or the chance. Most people fail before they even start. You know why? Because they think too small. They put limits on themselves that God never put on them. They talk themselves out of blessings before life even has a chance to hand them over. I meet folks all the time, and they'll come up to me and say, Steve, I just want a little something. You know, just enough to get by. Man, what? You serving a big God and you're asking him for just enough to scrape by? That's like going to an ocean with a teaspoon. You're standing at the biggest body of water on earth, and you got the nerve to bring a little teaspoon, dipping it like that's all you deserve. Meanwhile, somebody else brought a bucket, somebody else brought a whole pipeline, and you standing there with your teaspoon talking about, this'll do. Come on, man. When I first started in comedy, I used to limit myself. I used to say, well, maybe if I could just get a steady little job telling jokes, I'll be all right. But then one day, I heard a voice inside of me say, why? You asking for so little when God got so much more? And I had to check myself. Oh, because the only limits on my life were the ones I kept repeating in my head. See, small thinking is dangerous. Small thinking makes you settle. Small thinking makes you stop dreaming. And when you stop dreaming, you stop living. I can't tell you how many people I know who gave up on their big dream just because they thought it was a too much. They thought, oh well, people like me don't get stuff like that. And they shut it down before it even had a chance to breathe. Let me break it down like this. If you think small, you attract small. If you think average, you live average. But if you start thinking big, outrageous, crazy big, suddenly your life has to rise up to match that. You start walking different, talking different, carrying yourself like you deserve more. And people feel that. Opportunities feel that. Doors start swinging open for you, not because life got easier, but because your mind got bigger. I'll give you a real story. When I was sleeping in my car, I used to park outside big houses and just sit there and look. I'd imagine myself living in one. I didn't say, well, maybe I can get me a little one-bedroom apartment one day. No, I said one day I'm going to live in a house like that. Now, that wasn't my reality then, but it became my reality later because I refused to limit my dream. If I would have settled and said, well, Steve, you're homeless. Maybe just hope for a little room somewhere. That's all I ever would have gotten. But here's the thing. God didn't create you to be average. He didn't put you here to just survive. He put you here to thrive, to shine, to multiply. And every time you shrink your dream to fit your fear, you insulting what he put inside you. Think about that. You playing small don't help nobody. Your family don't benefit from you thinking small. Your children don't benefit from you thinking small. Your community don't benefit from you thinking small. But when you expand your vision, when you start aiming higher, suddenly you got something to pass down, something to inspire others with. I remember talking to a young man once, and he said to Steve, I just want to make enough money so I ain't broke. I said to son, why are you asking for broke's opposite? Why are you not asking for wealth? Why not ask for freedom? He said, well, I don't want to be greedy. Listen, man, dreaming big ain't greed. It's gratitude. It's saying, Lord, I trust that you can do more for me than I can imagine. You got to get rid of that limited thinking. That voice that says, people like you don't get rich. People like you don't live good. People like you don't deserve success. Man, stop listening to that. Who told you that? Somebody broke? Somebody gave up on their dream. You can't let their small thinking become your ceiling. Here's what I learned. Your life will never go higher than your thinking. Never. So if you want more, you got to think more. If you want bigger, you got to think bigger. Stop asking for $1 when you could be asking for $1 million. Stop praying for a job when you could be praying for a career. Stop asking to survive when you could be asking to soar. Let me close it with this. You ever been to a buffet? You walk in, there's food everywhere. But if you walk up to that buffet with a little saucer plate and put 2 spoonfuls on there, that's all you eating. Meanwhile, somebody else came with a big old plate, piled high with food, going back for seconds and thirds. And you're looking like, man, how come they got all that? Because they came expecting it. They came ready for it. That's life, man. The buffet is laid out. God got blessings stacked up for you. The question is, are you going to walk in with a teaspoon or are you going to come with a platter? Your mind decides. Don't limit yourself. Don't shrink your vision. Dream bigger, think bigger, expect bigger, because your future is only as big as your belief. I gotta tell you something that changed my whole life, man. Imagination. The power of your imagination is unbelievable. See, people think imagination is just for kids, like it's some little make-believe game. No, no, no. Imagination is God's preview of coming attractions in your life. That's Him showing you what's possible. If you can see it in your head, that means it already exists for you out there. The problem is most folks don't use it. They shut it down. They call it unrealistic. But let me tell you, everything that's real right now was once somebody's imagination. That car you drive, somebody imagined it first. That house you live in, somebody saw it in their mind before they laid a single brick. That phone in your hand. At one point, somebody said, what if we had a device that could call, text, take pictures, play music, and fit in your pocket? And the world laughed. Now you can't leave the house without it. That's imagination, man. When I was a kid, I had this wild imagination. Teacher asked the class, what'd y'all want to be when you grow up? Kids were saying stuff like doctor, lawyer, policeman. I stood up and said, I want to be on TV. Whole class laughed. Even the teacher chuckled a little. She told me, Steve, maybe pick something a little more realistic. Realistic. I'm glad I didn't listen, because if I had, you wouldn't even know my name today. I held on to that imagination, even when nobody else believed it. Here's the truth. Your imagination is a gift. It's the workshop of your mind. It's where you create the blueprint of your future. And if you don't use it, you're just building your life off somebody else's blueprint. That's why so many people are miserable. They're living a life they never imagined because they never dared to imagine it in the first place. Now, let me be real with you. When you start imagining big, people are going to laugh. They're going to doubt you. They're going to say you're crazy. That's fine. Let them. Because your imagination wasn't given to them. It was given to you. They don't see what you see. They don't hear what God whispered to you in the midnight hour. Nah. That's why you can't let small-minded people talk you out of a big vision. When I was broke, living in my car, I used to close my eyes and imagine myself walking on stage in front of thousands of people. I used to imagine shaking hands with celebrities, hosting a TV show, driving a new car, living in a mansion. Man, if you'd seen me then, you'd have thought I was out of my mind. But I wasn't crazy. I was building my future in my head before it showed up in my life. And one by one, all those images started becoming real. Let me explain why. Your imagination activates your faith. You can't believe in something you can't picture. You can't chase something you can't see. So the first step to making your dream real is to imagine it so clear, so vivid, that you feel like you're already living it. When you do that, your body, your decisions, your actions, they start aligning with that picture. Your imagination pulls you toward your destiny like a magnet. The problem with most folks is they let their reality kill their imagination. They say, well, I don't see it happening now, so I guess it never will. That's backwards. Don't let where you are right now trick you into believing that's all there is. Where you are is temporary. What you imagine is eternal. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you sat still and dreamed like a kid? When's the last time you closed your eyes and said, what do I really want my life to look like? Not what your boss says, not what your friends think, not what your family expects. What do you see? If you can't answer that, then you're living blind. You're driving without a map. And let me tell you, you ain't gonna get nowhere like that. You gotta exercise your imagination every day. Write it down. Picture it. Speak it. Even if you're broke, sit in your little room and imagine yourself in the life you want. Do it until it feels real. Because if you keep doing that, life will start bending to match the movie you keep playing in your head. Don't let fear steal it. Fear is imagination flipped upside down. That's all it is. You're scared of stuff that hasn't even happened yet, and you're picturing the worst outcome instead of the best one. If you got the power to imagine the worst, you got the power to imagine the best. Use that power in your favor. Man, I can't say this enough. Your imagination is your transportation. It's how you go places before your feet ever move. It's how you visit the life you're supposed to live before you get there. And the more you visit it, the sooner you're gonna arrive. So the next time somebody tells you to be realistic, you tell them, nah, I'd rather be imaginative. Because realistic is ordinary, but imagination is extraordinary. Realistic keeps you where you are, but imagination takes you where you're meant to be. And if you can hold it in your head, one day you'll be holding it in your hand. That's the power of imagination. Let me tell y'all something straight up. Nothing great ever happens in your comfort zone. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much talent you got. If you keep playing it safe, if you keep hiding in that little bubble where you feel all cozy and secure, you will never see the life you're supposed to have. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Comfort is where dreams go to die. Now I know why people stay comfortable. Because it feels good. It feels safe. You know what to expect. There ain't no surprises in your comfort zone. But let me tell you something. If you don't ever get uncomfortable, you will never grow. A seed gotta get buried in dirt before it grows into a tree. A bird gotta step out that nest before it learns how to fly. You ain't no different. You gotta step out. I remember when I was working at that auto plant in Cleveland, making decent money. It wasn't my dream, but it was steady. I was comfortable. Then one day I felt God telling me, Steve, you're supposed to be on stage. Now that scared me. Because leaving that job meant leaving security, leaving health insurance, leaving that check that came every 2 weeks. But I had a decision to make. Stay comfortable and miserable, or get uncomfortable and chase my calling. Man, I quit that job. Didn't have a backup plan, didn't know how I was going to make it. But the moment I stepped out of my comfort zone, things started happening. Was it easy? No. I went broke. I slept in my car. I struggled. But every night in that car, I was still closer to my dream than I ever was punching that clock at that plant. Because at least now I was uncomfortable in the right direction. See? That's what people don't get. Growth never feels good while it's happening. It hurts. It's scary. It makes you question yourself, but that's exactly how you know you're growing. Muscles don't grow unless you put weight on them. Faith don't grow unless you put pressure on it. And your life don't grow unless you step out into something that makes you sweat. Some of y'all sitting on a gift, a talent, a dream, but you're scared to move because you don't want to leave your comfort zone. You keep saying, well, I'm waiting on the right time. Ain't no right time. Ain't no right time. The right time is the moment you decide. If you wait for everything to line up perfect, you're going to be waiting forever. You got to jump, man. Just jump. Let me tell you about jumping. When you jump off a cliff, your parachute don't open right away. You're going to scrape up against some rocks. You're going to get bruised. It's going to hurt. But if you never jump, your parachute never opens. You'll just be standing on that cliff, safe but stuck, watching everybody else soar while you wonder what it would have felt like to fly. And I ain't telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. Every major blessing in my life came on the other side of fear. The first time I walked on stage, scared to death, my hands sweating, knees shaking. That was the jump. The first time I left home with no guarantee of success, that was the jump. The first time I said yes to opportunities that felt too big for me, that was the jump. And every single time the parachute opened, sometimes late, sometimes after I got beat up a little, but it opened. You gotta stop asking God to bless you while you're sitting on a couch. Blessings don't come to the couch. Blessings come when you get up and move, when you stretch, when you risk, when you dare to step where it's not comfortable. That's when God shows up. Think about it. Every invention, every breakthrough, every success story you admire came from somebody stepping out of their comfort zone. Oprah got fired before she became Oprah. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. Tyler Perry was homeless like me before he broke through. None of that came from staying safe. It came from taking risks. So let me ask you, what's keeping you comfortable? Is it that little job that don't pay enough but it feels steady? Is it those friends you hang with that don't push you to grow but they easy to be around? Is it that fear of failing that keeps you from even trying? Whatever it is, you gotta face it. You gotta push past it, because your destiny is on the other side of it. Here's the truth. You either step into discomfort now, or you live with regret later. And regret is way more painful than discomfort. And picture this, regret eats you alive. Regret makes you wonder every night, what if I would have tried? What if I would have jumped? Don't live like that. Don't die with your dreams still in you just because you wanted to stay comfortable. So here's what I'm telling you. Tonight, when you go home, write down one thing you've been scared to do. One thing you know you're supposed to be doing, but you keep putting off because it's uncomfortable, and then make a plan to do it. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because the longer you wait, the more that comfort zone becomes a prison. You weren't put here to live safe. You were put here to live full. Accessible. And you can't live full staying where it's comfortable. You gotta step out. You gotta jump. You gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're ever gonna fly. Let me tell you something that will change your life if you let it. Fear and faith can't live in the same place. They don't get along. One of them gotta go. If you let fear drive, faith is sitting in the back seat quiet. But if you put faith in charge, fear gets thrown out the car. That's how it works. See? Most people don't fail because they tried and it didn't work. Most people fail because fear stopped them from even trying. Fear is a dream killer. Fear is the number one thing keeping you from what God has for you. You're scared of what people gonna say. You scared you might fall on your face. You scared you ain't qualified. Man, let me tell you, if I had listened to fear, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. When I first started in comedy, I was terrified. I mean, shaking in my boots. I'm about to walk out on stage for the first time, and fear is screaming in my ear. Steve, you ain't funny. They're gonna boo you. You're gonna embarrass yourself. You should have just stayed home. Now I had two choices. I could listen to that fear and run out the back door, or I could lean on faith and walk out there anyway. Thank God I chose faith. That night didn't make me famous, but it made me brave. Yeah, it made me brave. And brave is what you need before success ever shows up. Here's the truth. Fear is loud, but it ain't real. Fear is imagination flipped the wrong way. Fear is painting a picture of a future that ain't even happened yet and convincing you to quit before you even start. You scared of losing money you ain't made yet. You scared of rejection from people you ain't even met yet. You scared of failing at something you haven't even tried yet. That's crazy when you think about it. Now, faith works the same way, but in your favor. Faith is also believing in something you can't see yet. Faith is also imagining a future that hasn't happened. But instead of fear's nightmare, faith gives you a dream. Faith says, even if you don't see the whole staircase, take the first step. Faith says that God didn't bring you this far to leave you. Faith says you got everything you need inside you already. Walk like you know it. I remember when I was living in my car, broke, hungry, cold at night, and fear would whisper, you ain't gonna make it. You're gonna be stuck like this forever. But faith would come right behind it and say, Steve, this ain't the end. This is just a process. Keep going. And let me tell you, man, if I didn't have faith, fear would have won. Fear would have made me quit. Fear would have sent me back to some safe job I hated, living a life I never wanted. But faith pulled me through nights I had nothing but a steering wheel for a pillow. Some of y'all right now, fear got you frozen. You got a business idea, but you too scared to start it. You got a dream job you want, but you too scared to apply. You got talent burning inside you, but you too scared to show the world. And the devil laughing because he knows he ain't got to destroy you. All he got to do is scare you. Fear does the rest. But I'm telling you, man, fear is a liar. Fear don't predict your future, it just tries to block you from it. The only way you beat fear is with faith. You can't negotiate with it. You can't tiptoe around it. You gotta replace it. Every time fear says, what if you fail? Faith says, what if I fly? Every time fear says, you're not enough, faith says, I'm more than enough. Every time fear says, stay safe, faith says, step out, God got you. Here's something I learned. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward, even though you're scared. Don't think I'm up here fearless. I still get scared. Every new level in my life, fear shows up like clockwork, but I don't let it drive. I say fear, you can ride in the trunk if you want, but faith is behind the wheel. That's how I keep moving. That's how I keep moving. Think about this. How many blessings have you missed out on just because you let fear talk you out of them? How many opportunities passed you by because you were too scared to step up? How many dreams are still locked inside you because you won't give faith a chance to open the door? Man, don't let your future slip away just because fear felt louder in the moment. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and a sound mind. That means fear ain't even supposed to be your natural state. Faith is. You came into this world believing. Word on our root. Watch a baby. They believe food gonna come when they cry. They believe somebody gonna pick them up when they reach. That's faith. You only learned fear when life started throwing stuff at you. Now you gotta unlearn it. So here's my challenge for you. Next time fear whispers, answer back with faith. Next time your knees start shaking, take the step anyway. Next time you're about to quit, Remind yourself that everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Don't let fear block your blessing. Choose faith every time, because when you walk in faith, doors open. When you walk in faith, mountains move. When you walk in faith, what looked impossible suddenly becomes possible. And when you walk in faith, your future finally starts looking like the dream God showed you in the first place. Faith over fear. Every time. Every time. Let me tell you something real important. Who you hang around will make or break your future. I don't care how smart you are, how much talent you got, how big your dream is. If you surround yourself with small-minded, negative people, you're going to shrink right down to their level. Your circle is either watering your dream or poisoning it. And some of y'all got folks around you right now who don't believe in nothing, and you wonder why you feel stuck. See, energy is contagious. You hang around complainers, you start complaining. You hang around people who don't believe. Pretty soon you stop believing. But you get around dreamers, hustlers, folks who see possibilities. You start catching that fire too. You can't help it. That's why you gotta be real careful who you let in your circle. When I first started telling people I wanted to be on TV, man, I can't even tell you how many folks laughed at me. They said, Steve, be for real. Ain't nobody from this neighborhood gonna make it like that. And if I had kept listening to them, I would have started believing it. But you know what I did? I stopped sharing my big dreams with small thinkers. I only talked to folks who could see what I was saying, or at least respect it. That's how I protected my vision. Look, even Jesus couldn't do miracles in his own hometown because of the unbelief around him. Think about that. If the Son of God had to deal with people not believing in him, what makes you think you ain't gonna deal with it too? That's why you can't let everybody's opinion weigh the same in your life. Some folks you gotta love from a distance. You can still care about them, but you can't let them speak into your future. Let me put it to you like this. If you're trying to lose weight, you don't hang around folks eating fried chicken and cake all day talking about, go on, have one more plate. Nah. You hang with folks hitting the gym, drinking water, keeping you accountable. Same thing with your dream. If you're trying to level up, you can't keep hanging with folks who gave up on theirs. They'll talk you right back into average. I remember early on, I met a guy who believed in me more than I believed in myself. He said, Steve, you got something, man, you funny. You could really make it. As though I didn't even see it that clearly at the time, but his belief in me sparked something. It made me go harder. Sometimes that's all you need. One person who sees in you what you can't even see yet. That's why it's so important to get around believers. Now, let me warn you. The moment you start chasing your dream, unbelievers gonna pop up everywhere. They'll say, yeah, that's risky. That's unrealistic. You sure you want to do that? They'll disguise it as love. Like they're just looking out for you, but really, they're just projecting their own fear onto you. Don't take it personal. They can't see your vision because it wasn't given to them. But don't you dare let them talk you out of it. You gotta build yourself a circle of believers. People who clap when you win, not roll their eyes. People who push you when you feel like quitting. People who remind you of your greatness when life makes you forget. That's your tribe. That's your fuel. And let me tell you, if you don't have that right now, you better start looking for it. Go to seminars. Join groups, find mentors, read books, whatever you gotta do to get that energy around you. Because your environment will always beat your willpower. Think about it. You could be the most determined seed in the world, but if you're planted in concrete, you ain't growing. You put that same seed in good soil around water and sunlight, and it'll grow into a tree. You ain't no different. You need the right environment. Some of y'all got big dreams, but you're trying to grow them in toxic soil. Around haters, doubters, people who don't clap for you, people who secretly hope you fail so they can feel better about themselves. That's why your dream ain't moving. It ain't you, it's your circle. So here's what I need you to do. Take inventory of your circle. Ask yourself, who in my life pushes me forward and who pulls me back? Who speaks life into me and who speaks doubt? Who believes in me and who only tolerates me? And if the balance ain't right, you gotta make some cuts. It might hurt, but it's necessary. Because your future is too valuable to let the wrong people keep you from it. Surround yourself with believers, people who think bigger than you so they stretch your vision, people who work harder than you so they raise your grind. People who pray harder than you, so they strengthen your faith. That's how you grow. At the end of the day, your dream is fragile. It's like a newborn baby. You don't just hand it to anybody. You protect it, nurture it, surround it with the right people until it grows strong enough to stand on its own. That's what surrounding yourself with believers does. Because when you're around the right people, even on your worst day, they'll remind you that you're still destined for greatness. And sometimes that reminder is the only thing that keeps you going. Now listen to me, because this one right here will save you years of wasted time. Everybody always says, work hard, grind, 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 grind. And yeah, that's true. You gotta put in the work. But let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Hard work by itself ain't enough. You can dig the wrong hole all day long, but at the end of the day, you're still in the wrong hole. Effort without vision is just movement without progress. See some of y'all out here working 16 hours a day, busting your back, sweating, grinding, and you still broke, you still stuck, you still tired. Why? Because you're grinding without vision. You're just working to survive instead of working toward a dream. And let me tell you, survival ain't the same as living. When I was working them jobs before comedy took off, man, I worked hard. I drove a car with no air conditioning, wearing a suit in the summertime, hustling from gig to gig. But here's the difference. I wasn't just working to get a paycheck. I had a vision in my head. I could see myself on TV. I could see my name on the marquee. That vision made every sacrifice make sense. That vision made me say, I'll sleep in a car if I have to. I'll eat bologna sandwiches every day if I have to. Because my grind was attached to a picture of my future. Let me tell you something. Vision is fuel. Hard work is the engine, but vision is the gas. You can have the strongest engine in the world, but if you ain't got gas in the tank, that car ain't moving nowhere. Some of y'all got the engine, you working like crazy, but you ain't got no fuel, no direction, no why. That's why you tired all the time. That's why you keep quitting and starting over. Now here's what makes vision so powerful. Vision gives pain a purpose. Without vision, pain just feels like suffering. With vision, pain feels like investment. Think about it. If you go to the gym with no goal, that treadmill feels like torture. But if you got a vision of a six-pack, or you're trying to run a marathon, suddenly that pain makes sense. You start saying, this is getting me closer. Same thing in life. I see so many folks bragging about how much they grind, how many hours they work, how little they sleep. But let me ask you, for what? If your grind ain't tied to a vision, you just bragging about being tired. That ain't success, that's slavery. The grind should serve the dream, not replace it. Let me break it down real simple. A man with vision will beat a man with effort every single time. Because the man with vision knows where he's going. He's intentional. He's strategic. He don't just swing at everything moving. He knows his target. The man with just effort, he's swinging blind. He might get lucky, but most times he's just wasting energy. Now, don't get me wrong. I ain't saying hard work don't matter. Lord knows I wouldn't be here without working my behind off. But what I'm telling you is, you gotta match that grind with a vision. Otherwise, you're just gonna wear yourself out. Vision gives you focus. It tells you what to say yes to, and more importantly, what to say a no to. Because not every opportunity is for you. Some opportunities look good, but they ain't aligned with your vision. Without vision, you'll chase everything that shines, and then wonder why you never find gold. Here's the other thing about vision. It don't just keep you grinding, it keeps you believing. When life knocks you down, when doors slam in your face, when people tell you no, if you got vision, you'll get back up because you can still see the future in your head. But if you ain't got vision, wanna know will knock you out forever. That's the difference. I'll give you an example. When I was living in my car for 3 years, it was vision that kept me going. You think sleeping in a car is easy? You think washing up in gas station bathrooms is fun? No, but I could see where I was headed. I kept saying, one day I'm going to be on that stage. One day I'm going to tell this story on TV. That's the only reason I didn't quit. Hard work alone couldn't have carried me through that kind of pain. Vision did. So here's my challenge to you. Before you grind, get clear on your vision. Write it down. Picture it. Dream about it. Obsess over it. And then attach your grind to that. Because when your grind is fueled by vision, ain't nothing that can stop you. You'll work smarter. You'll last longer. and you'll feel more fulfilled doing it. At the end of the day, hard work will give you a check, but vision-driven work will give you a future. And I don't know about you, but I didn't come on this earth just to pay bills and die. I came here to live out my dream. And the only way to do that is to grind with vision, not just effort. Let me tell you something that'll change the way you look at your whole life. Your mind is the steering wheel. Where you point it, that's exactly where your life is going to go. You can't drive a car looking backwards, and you can't move your life forward with a negative, doubting, defeated mindset. Whatever direction you turn your thoughts, that's the road you're going to end up on. See, most people don't realize how powerful their mind is. They think success starts when you get money, or when somebody finally notices your talent, or when you get that promotion. Nah, success don't start out there. Success starts right here, in your head. If you believe you can, you probably will. If you believe you can't, you already lost. When I was broke, living in my car, the only thing I had left was my mind. I didn't have money. I didn't have a bed. I didn't have security. But I had an imagination, and I had a belief that my life could be more than what I was seeing at that moment. I'd sit there in that car, and I'd close my eyes and picture myself walking on stage, telling jokes, people laughing, lights shining. I saw it before I lived it. And that picture in my head, it became my steering wheel. Now don't get me wrong, your mind can drive you to the wrong place too. If all you think about is fear, you'll steer straight into fear. If all you think about is lack, you'll steer straight into lack. Some of y'all ain't living in failure because you're unlucky. You living in failure because your mind been steering you there the whole time. You keep saying, I'll never make it. I'll always struggle. I ain't good enough. And then you wonder why your life looks exactly like your word. Let me put it plain. You can't expect to drive to California if you keep programming your GPS from Mississippi. You can't keep speaking failure and expect success to show up. Life don't work like that. Your mouth and your mind are programming your future every single day. That's why I always say you gotta guard your thoughts like treasure. Don't just let any old thought ride shotgun in your car. If a negative thought jumps in, kick it out. Replace it with a thought that drives you toward where you want to go. You control the wheel. You control the direction. But you got to take responsibility for it. I remember when I first got on TV, people started asking me, hey, Steve, how'd you do it? And you know what I tell them? I thought it first. Before the shows, before the fame, before Family Feud, before the books, I thought it. I held it in my mind until my life caught up with my thinking. That's the truth. The problem is most folks let other people steer their mind. They let their family's doubt steer them. They let their boss's opinion steer them. They let fear steer them. They let fear steer. Listen, you can't hand your steering wheel to nobody else. If you do, don't be surprised when you end up somewhere you don't like. This is your life, your destiny, your future. You better be the one driving. And let me tell you, sometimes you're going to hit potholes. Sometimes you're going to get lost. Sometimes you're going to take the wrong turn. But as long as you're still holding the wheel, you can always correct your course. That's the beauty of it. You ain't stuck unless you park the car and give up. I'll never forget this older man told me once, your life will always follow your most dominant thoughts. And that hit me, because it meant I had the power all along. I wasn't waiting on the world to change. I was waiting on my mind to change. Once I shifted my thoughts from I'm broke, I'm stuck, I can't, to I'm chosen, I'm gifted, I can. My whole life started shifting with it. So here's my challenge to you. Start paying attention to where your mind is steering you. Are you constantly focused on what's wrong? Or are you thinking about what's possible? Are you steering toward excuses? Or are you steering toward solutions? Are you letting fear drive? Or are you letting faith take the wheel? Because wherever your mind goes, your future follows. If you want a better life, you got to start with better thoughts. Dream bigger. Speak life over yourself. Stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will. Stop saying, I'm unlucky, and start saying, I'm blessed. Oh, that shift in language and thinking, that's you turning the wheel. And you keep turning it long enough. Eventually, you'll end up exactly where you were meant to be. At the end of the day, it ain't your job, it ain't your money, it ain't your education that creates your future. It's your mind. Your mind is the steering wheel. So the question is simple. Where are you steering your life? Because whether you like it or not, you headed exactly where your thoughts are taking you.